So this week's top 14 review comes with a little bit of a difference. I'm still in France, I'm still in Toulouse, the sun is out, enjoying a coffee and a pain au chocolat. So really enjoying the French vibe on a casual Monday. But review of the weekend's action. The top two have really pulled clear, so the game that we saw, Toulouse v Castres, they were pretty dominant over Castres in third. Does that show that there is actually a bit of a gap between those top two of Toulouse and Stade and the others? Stade won at home to another team going well in Pau, so they won pretty comfortably in the end. This weekend was our first experience of Rugby Plus, so the how they show the rugby on Canal Plus in France. They kind of have all the games playing concurrently, and they'll drop in and out according to the action and where the tries are being scored and where games are getting tense. It was pretty hectic. It's quite hard to follow, but kind of quite exciting in its own way. The bonus point scoring system had a bit of an impact this weekend, so Montpellier were very close to getting a bonus point win away at Oyonnax, but a couple of late tries at Oyonnax denied them the attacking bonus point. Racing's bad run continues, 5 defeats in a row in the top 14 now. Clermont hammering away at La Rochelle. Are they now about to slip into the relegation zone? Do a longer review from my lovely little cafe spot for YouTube if you want to see what those are like. So Toulouse v Castres, the game we were at, it was a pretty dominant display from Toulouse. Local derby, the atmosphere was amazing. The Castres fans were absolutely fantastic. They had a little pocket of one end and were going for it all game right to the end, and really applauded their players, even though their players didn't really give them that much to shout about in terms of the scoreline. They were kind of, that connection between the players and the fans for Castres is really quite something special. Does this game kind of show the gap between Toulouse and the rest of the league? Castres had a pretty strong team out, and Toulouse was strong considering how many internationals were away, but it was a strange one because Castres were really competitive at scrum time. Henry Thomas and then Patin, who came on to replace him, they won a couple of scrum penalties. Their line out went really well, but they just couldn't seem to get an attacking play together. They never really got a grip in the game. Wankry's Mallier at 10 for Toulouse completely controlled the game. He looks so classy. Paul Grau, bearing in mind that was until a few weeks ago no one had really heard of him, he looked great at 9, electric all game. What a replacement they've got for Antoine Dupont there. But yeah, Mallier I think looks great at 10. Much better than he does at 15 or wing for Argentina, but never mind. Kinghorn was good at fullback, kicked the goals as well, kicked really well. Jack Willis was phenomenal, breakdown, maul defence, giving them kind of quick ball at rucks, just clearing out rucks so quickly, and carrying really well as well as number 8. And then talking of number 8, Matisse Castro Ferreira, a player I really like from the under-20s, came on towards the end and looked really destructive, rampaging around. Good to see him at this level. His kind of physicality and power and pace seems to translate to this top level, which is great to see. He'll be playing for France pretty soon. And yeah, Castres were good. Staniforth really put it about for them in kind of an old school second row type way. Patin is an absolute unit. He's absolutely shredded. Can't believe that he's not getting called up to the France squad as the third choice tight head when Buran at Agen was getting called up instead. But I just can't believe how little Castres managed to string together an attack. Peter Arquis for Toulouse really disrupted them. Defending was brilliant. He's the straw that stirs the drink for me in that Toulouse team. Just the glue that holds everything together. He's so key for every single element of it. But Toulouse looking very, very, very good. My first experience of Rugby Plus this weekend, so how they show the top 14 in France. Canal Plus, rather than doing kind of like a Soccer Saturday type thing, they basically show like one game and then they will have the other games running concurrently, and as soon as there's action in one of the other games, so like tries or penalties or a flare-up or a card, they will switch to that game. So I don't actually know which the main game was on Saturday. I think it might have been Toulon Perpignan. But they kind of switch between the games so much, especially with Lyon conceding so many tries at Bayonne, they seem to be switching to show tries at Bayonne pretty much the whole time. I can't decide whether I like it or not. You kind of get all the drama and all the action, and you don't miss any of the action, so you see it all like there and then. But you also don't quite get that flow or the intricacies of the game. You don't quite get that feeling of here's how the game is going. You kind of do a bit, like I could sense that the Oyonnax and Montpellier game got tense towards the end, but you'd also quite like to see the ins and outs of the game, that you're watching in full. Oyonnax v Montpellier is a real hammer blow of defeat for Oyonnax. They needed to win that game. It was 14th versus 13th going into it. And as a result, they're now 8 points off 13th. So that's 2 wins that they've got to make up on Perpignan, who are doing pretty well at home. Montpellier, I guess the encouraging thing for them was that they did score 2 tries towards the end. They kind of really rallied. It could have been a real hammering, and those 2 extra tries towards the end meant they denied Montpellier the attacking bonus point and also got themselves a losing bonus point. So that's something to cling on to. They looked like they could snatch it as well towards the end, so it was quite close. But ultimately, Carbonell looks pretty good for Montpellier. He seems to be back to the kind of player that we know he should be. Lenny Nucci, the young, I think he's 20, doesn't look 20, but young flanker from Montpellier. I think he's been captaining as well. Scored first half hat-trick, so that's pretty phenomenal. He looks like he's going to be kind of tearing it up for Montpellier for the rest of the season. And I think this was an interesting one for the bonus point system. So it is different in France. It's like in Super Rugby, so it's 3 clear tries as opposed to just a flat out, you score 4 tries, you get a bonus point. So going into that final 10 minutes, Montpellier were 5 tries to 2 up, so they would have been having an attacking bonus point there. But in the end, they don't get one, even though they've scored 5 tries, and Oyonnax don't get one, even though they've scored 4. But at least by kind of scoring those late too, they reduced that kind of differential for Montpellier, so therefore denied the attacking bonus point. It's quite an interesting way to work it. I guess it probably rewards like an actual hammering, which is good. And that kind of also had a bit of an impact in the Pau game. So Stade v Pau, Stade looked in control from what I could tell. They were definitely more physical up front and in the tight encounters. And then Pau with their kind of young fly halves in Debice, who's been out on loan, and Desperez, who's been in the France under-20s. Talented player, but they seemed to make a lot of errors as well. But going into the last 15 minutes, it was 18-12 to Stade. Joris Segons missed the conversion, so 6-point lead. Pau then had a period of pressure and forced a penalty, which was about 40 metres out. Like, it seems like a real obvious one to go for the corner. You're 6 points down, 5-10 minutes to go, get into the corner, try and get that try for the win. They went for the posts. I can't tell why, because even with the try, they could have not only could they have taken the lead, but even if they don't get the conversion, they've reduced it to 3 tries to 1, so would be denying Stade the attacking bonus point. But they went for the points, and Desperez missed the kick, and then Stade just regained control from there. Brilliant try from and then last minute Macklin scores a brilliant try, second of the game in his 150th appearance for Stade. He looks back to his best. Let's get him in France score. He's a real point of difference for them, and that gives Stade, or the final match result in terms of league points, was 5 points to 0, which Pau, given they were in the game for quite a lot, is quite disappointing. I think they really should have tried to make that 5-1 or 4-1. And it kind of does affect, like that point could affect them in the league. It now means they're in 8th, whereas they could have been in 5th. Like, it's that barrage area is so tight in terms of league points that it could all make a difference come the end of the season. So the next 3 games aren't really ones that I've caught much of. Toulon, Perpignan, and Bayonne v Lyon, and then Bordeaux v Racing. As I mentioned on Rugby Plus, they were showing Toulon v Perpignan and Bayonne v Lyon, and they were switching to them quite a lot because there's quite a lot of tries in those games. For the home teams, it looked pretty convincing for Toulon, to be honest. They looked in control, they looked way ahead for a lot of the game. Not surprising really, Perpignan have got a pretty poor away record. Tommy Allen still looked like he was going really well for Perpignan, both ball in hand, running in a try, kicking goals. Big performance from Melvin Jaminet for Toulon. Scored a try, he was 100% off the tee, I think. really stepping up when he needs to, now that there's a potential opportunity to get back into that France squad at 15 if they choose to go for Ramos at 10. I think Leo Barre might have been called up now, but Melvin Jaminet trying to throw his hat in the ring for that was good to see. Bayonne v Lyon, I mean, this looked completely comfortable for Bayonne. Lyon have been going pretty well, but they're not great away from home, and Bayonne are very good at home. And I think this just showed it. I think their home record is just gonna. It was an absolute hammering, really, and Bayonne's home record is just going to keep them up. I think it's going to keep them quite clear of the relegation zone. They're just so good there, and their pack is brilliant as well. And that win opens up a 7-point gap to Perpignan in 13th, which I think they should be enough for them to kind of maintain that distance to the end of the season. Bordeaux v Racing, this was the kind of Saturday evening game, so I didn't see much of it. We were eating dinner by then, but it looks like another poor showing from Racing. They had a good team out as well. You know, they had Antoine Gibert was back at 10. They've still got the issue with 9, so Max Spring in only his second start in professional rugby at 9. But it had all the star players. You know, Jordan Joseph back at number 8, Khaleesi playing, Rowlands in the second row, Camille Chat. Like, it's a good team that they've got out. The back three was electric as well. You know, Arundel, Tristan Tedder, I think it was Imhoff on the other wing. I just don't understand. Like, and Bordeaux, good win for them. They kind of needed this as well. Nicolas Deporter, couple of tries. Every time I see him, the footage of him, he seems to be kind of running in tries, looking big, smile on his face. He's been pretty public and quite honest about how he really wants to get into this France squad for this Six Nations. Be nice to see him there. I get the sense that Gautier is probably going to be loyal to Viku, and then with Dante suspended, Moafana will come into 12. Does that open up a spot on the bench for Deporter, perhaps? And that'd be quite cool to see him get his first cap. But yeah, Bordeaux, you know, good. Garcia at 10 as well, kicking goals. He looks, you know, he's a young player, another young 10 in France, but just controlling things and getting them the points that they need while they've got some big stars missing, and he'll be pretty key going into it because Jalibert, I think, is going to be out for quite a long time with this injury that he picked up against Italy. Last game of the round was Sunday night. I caught a bit of this in a bar last night in Toulouse. I was quite drunk by then, so I don't have too much recollection of it, but from what I remember, it looked like one-way traffic. It looked like Clermont were just so sloppy. There was lots of images of Christophe Orius looking angry as Clermont make another mistake. And, you know, 42 points of 3 is a big defeat, whether you're away from home or not. And it's not like they had a dreadful team out. Like, it wasn't just completely inexperienced. They just look really sloppy at the moment, Clermont. Much more encouraging result for La Rochelle. I think they needed that sort of result. Picking up a bit of form. They've been poor by their standards. I think they've been okay, but they just haven't hit the heights that they should be hitting. They've got a lot of players missing in that tight 5, as I said before. But Rog will be encouraged by that. Hopefully he's a bit cheerier. He was raging last week. But I think they can kind of start looking up the league now rather than kind of looking down and kind of not really knowing. They're now in 7th. They're 1 point off the barrage, so they'll be in the mix of that barrage, which will be, you know, there's a long way to go in that battle for 6th place or 5th and 6th. But they're right in the mix now, which is where they should be. Clermont, by comparison, could get dragged into that relegation scrap for 13th place, and they're only 5 points ahead of Perpignan, who are in 13th. So the way their form's going compared to, you know, Perpignan, Montpellier, Lyon are picking up wins at home and playing some good rugby at times, certainly at home. Clermont just haven't shown that level of uptick in form. They just haven't shown it, so they could be really struggling if this continues, and they could get dragged into that relegation scrap. They really don't want to be in that because they're not a team that's been down there that much, and then the other teams are more experienced in that kind of end of season scrap.